Welcome to the Soul Patch Podcast, the podcast where three American expats explore different topics related to living and working in South Korea. With a combined 45 years of living experience in Asia, there are plenty of stories to tell. So, pop in your headphones and make yourself comfortable. It's time for the Soul Patch Podcast.
My tainted perception distorts my true meaning is blurred.
Everybody, today we have another guest. We're talking with Xochitl, who is a relatively new teacher here in Korea. And we've been talking with a lot of people who've been here for a long time. And we wanted to get someone's new perspective because, as anyone who's been listening for a while knows, Ryan, Jack, and I have been here for so long that the mysticism is often gone when it comes to what Korea is. And so we think it'll be really fun to see Korea through someone else's eyes for a bit and help remind us on what's interesting and what's fun about this country. So, Xochitl, before we get going, I guess the first thing I want to know is, and I'm sure you've been asked this question tons of times before, but why Korea? Like, I know why the three of us came to Korea, but these days, Korea is so different from the way it was 15 years ago when we got here. So why did you choose to come to Korea to teach as opposed to other countries or why here specifically?
Sorry. Yeah, I think my answer is like kind of weird to some people, but basically like I was an English major and I had an education track. And so one of the courses that I took was like teaching English in a foreign country.
Mm-hmm.
So we like learned a lot about like East Asian countries and like the legacy of teaching English like there and etc. So I had a lot of Korean friends in that class actually, and they were like telling me about like, oh, there's a lot of benefits. And so I just wanted to do something like fun because I'm still kind of young, and I was like, why don't I just like go to another country and just see what stuff is about? Yeah. So that's kind of what brought me here.
I mean, that's more or less what brought me here as well. Not specifically healthcare, but it was the same thing. Like, I want to go and travel and have fun and teach. And Korea, for logistical reasons, just was the better option than others.
Right. Like they have everything kind of set up for you already. Like I when I listened to your podcast before, I remember you guys like referring to it as like life in a bottle. And
exactly.
Like, that's so true. And so I was like, okay, I can go here and like not have to worry about like healthcare, pension, blah, blah, like it's all set up, apartment, like all that's set up. And other places, like you kind of have to find your own, or like it's just not set up as nicely. So I just felt like that's going to be convenient.
Yeah, it is really nice. You show up to Korea and they're just like, here's where you're living, here's your job, there's the corner store, like done. It's all ready.
I remember when the wheels fell off the bus for me, I crash landed on my parents' sofa and I was like, all right, Korea, here I come again, because
that's basically what happened to me. That's so funny. Yeah, that's basically what happened to me at the law firm. And then I was like, all right, Korea, here I come.
Yeah.
So like Xochitl, so like when you came here, speaking of that whole like life in a bottle thing, did someone meet you at the airport?
No.
Really? So you got to navigate your way.
Wow.
Yeah. So the lucky thing for me is like this Korean woman who like came all the way from Lexington. I came from Lexington, Kentucky, and she was at the airport. She saw me at the airport. So when we both landed in Incheon, like I hadn't seen her, but she came up to me and she's like, hey, I saw you in Lexington. And she was like really, really nice. And she helped me with everything. Like we were luckily going to the same place. So she helped me with the KTX and like, she was going to Busan, but she helped me like get off at Busan. And like, she helped me with literally everything. Like people were so nice to me. It was insane. Like I heard like people are not that friendly to strangers, but like people carried my luggage for me. Like everyone was like really nice. Yeah.
Everyone I know has a story of a Korean person taking them somewhere. You know what I mean? Just like a random stranger, just like here, they grab your arm, they, or hold your hand and say, I'm taking you, no matter how out of the way it is for them. So that's what a great way to start.
I will say, like you said, Koreans aren't necessarily polite to strangers. I think that's the hit or miss, but definitely once they decide to help you, it's amazing how far they will go just to do what you need to do. It's very
right,
cool.
For sure. Yeah. And like I think maybe I misspoke, but I didn't mean like politeness. Just like I heard that like they're not like super, like they say that people in the US are like super friendly or something, I guess. And they think it's weird. Like we'll be like, hi to everyone. And they're not used to that.
That has a little bit more to do with just like randomly talking to people.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, check this out. So yesterday I taught a class with, it's a Saturday section, right? So these are like older students, like late 20s. And we were talking about this type of issue. We're talking about stereotypes of Americans, stereotypes of Koreans we were comparing. And Kev, I think you would have a better insight into this because of language. I understand Nunchi pretty well. I think of it as like a social, cohesive, like feeling thing.
Probably
like
one of the better ways to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, like you're like aware of other people and whatever. They were saying that Americans specifically, compared to, we were looking at tons of countries, different cultures, and they said Americans specifically lack nunchi. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. So what do you mean by that? And the way they began to describe it, it made me realize that nunchi might not be what I think it is in entirely. I feel like it's kind of like this. Like, it's not that I would say Koreans are like unfriendly, but they're like more respectful of your autonomy. Like you don't want to disturb somebody else. Wouldn't you say that's true? Like, an American probably isn't so worried about disturbing the person next to him on the bus stop's bench, you know, where Koreans would be a little bit more like, leave you alone.
Unless you're shopping.
Like, an American will
in
tell
which case
you,
they just come up to help you regardless of how much help you want in the store.
You could take a bus ride with an American, like longer than 10 minutes. They'll tell you their whole life story. You know what I mean? Like, like the worst thing that ever happened to them. And, you know, and in Korea, you know, you wouldn't even tell that to your wife for the first 20 years of marriage. You know what I mean? Like, we're very, I don't know what the word is, but you know what I mean? Like,
slaps me every time I come home. It always slaps me. I'm just like waiting in line at the gas station. The guy next to me is like, so, like, I'm from Wisconsin, right? So it's like, so the Packers. I'm like, what? You talking to me, bro?
right.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting part of it as well. Yeah, nunchi is fun. Anyway, so Xochitl, how you had some Korean friends in school, which is very cool. Because I wanted to ask, like, how you started to get ready to come to Korea. Like, what were your steps before getting here? And I guess having people that you can already ask specific questions to is great, because all of my research before coming to Korea was like, you know, internet, what are Koreans like? Or asking friends like, what do you know about Korea? And everyone's like, I don't know, StarCraft. Like that. Like I got nothing before I came to Korea, but you actually had people on the ground that you could talk to, which is very cool.
Yeah, I mean, because of COVID, like, I didn't have that connection as much as I like used to back when I was in college, but I still did have some people I could like ask about certain things. So that was really nice. Like, my aunt's friend is Korean too, and like we go hang out with her and ask her different stuff about like moving and stuff. I asked her, like, do you think I moved to Ulsan, and I asked her like where she thinks is a good place to move. She really pushed for me to like move to Seoul because she said that it's going to be more fun since I'm young. But I was like, I didn't want to go somewhere that was like too big, like right off the bat. But yeah, as far as like how I got into the process of coming to Korea, I think like I knew from my friends like kind of what it was about. So then I did do like my own research mostly. And then like the process was really different than I imagined, because I didn't know like how expensive it was. Like, you have to do like all these documents and like have them all apostilled and like send them to Korea. And like, yeah, it's like hundreds of dollars to do all of that. So like, I didn't expect that, but it was fine. But it was just like something that I think a lot of people who are looking into coming, like, they're not prepared for, like, don't know about. Maybe if they haven't done their research yet.
But then that's good as well, because you already had all of the documents and everything once you got here. So hopefully the process wasn't too difficult once you were on the ground. It was like visa, just
yeah, to get my visa and everything done. Yeah, it wasn't bad. And then like as far as looking for a job, I honestly like did like the whole recruiter thing, like, but they were not helpful at all. Yeah, they were like really bad. And then like then I just literally found this job through like a Facebook post, and then talked to the foreign teachers who like worked here before, and they all had good things to say for the most part. So I just took my leap. Basically, like, I think this is something a lot of people aren't prepared for either. Like, I did so much research and did like everything before coming here, and at the end I still felt like I just got to take the leap of faith and just like go for it, because like no matter how much research you do, you don't know like how it's going to end up. So you just have to like be prepared to like not be prepared. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, you're moving across literally the entire planet. It's going to be an adventure. Like, you can't know everything. It wouldn't be fun if you did.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, might as well just stay home.
Did you find things that were in all of your research, what did you find was very helpful? What resources did you find were good for you? What did you find that maybe wasn't very helpful? Was there anything that you were like, well, that wasn't the way I was told it was going to be?
So like there's this one YouTuber, her name's like Annie, and she lived in Sejong, I think, but I don't remember the exact thing. Maybe I'll send you guys this and you can like put a link to it or something. She had a whole video about like exactly what to do before you come to Korea, like everything to prepare. And she was like the most helpful video I've seen by far, like as far as that. And then for the documents and stuff like that, my recruiter was mostly the one kind of helping me. And actually, here's another thing. If you apply to a bunch of different recruiters, they're all going to give you like advice. And so even if you don't get a job through them, you can like fix all your stuff up according to the advice that recruiters gave you, then use it to get the job you want. So like that's kind of what happened with me. Like the first recruiter, like they actually helped me fix up all my documents, but I didn't end up going with them. So I suggest like using that resource. And like if you see they have like a link and like how to set up all your documents, and you can ask the recruiter you're working with, like all the questions about it. Then once you have everything set up, like I'm not saying ditch that person, but I'm saying if you don't get a job through them, like you can still use those documents. So one thing I really suggest is like don't have your documents. You can have the option to have your documents sent to the recruiter instead of sent back to you, and have them sent back to you because you want them. Don't let.
That's a way for them to kind of get their claws into you a little bit.
Yeah. Have them sent back to you. That's what I did. And I was like so thankful for that later. Yeah.
That's very good advice. Definitely.
Yeah.
And that just makes sense in general. Keep everything on your side. Like, just in case. It's better for me.
I remember way the heck back when I started at Chungang. They wanted my diplomas.
Right.
And they had, I think I was already hired at this point or whatever. They already made up their mind. I didn't have a contract, but they needed my diplomas. I didn't have all that on hand because I wasn't teaching here.
Right.
So I had stuff in storage at my parents' house, I think, and I had them send a photocopy, and that was good enough. And I wonder if it's very similar for like a lot of your application stuff. If they want like transcripts and stuff like this, you can provide copies initially, and then the real deal once you get the official contract, so in case you're sending out multiple packages to different recruiters or different applications, you could use copies for everything, right? And
for the applications,
So I didn't have to ever send, like I have my diploma with me now. I brought it just in case. Like if you're going to come to Korea, then bring your diploma and all your documents in case you need to get a new job later, or like when you renew like the next year and you want to like you end your contract and you want to get a new job at the next year, you should have like all your documents with you, I think. So I brought my diploma with me, but like to apply from the US, I just needed a photocopy and it has to be apostilled. I never had to like show anyone my real diploma. It just has to be apostilled in the US.
We didn't do that back in 2000. I came here in 2002. That was my first job. I sent my real diploma through the mail. I broke the glass, you know what I mean? Like I gotta, it's like a piggy bank, Yeah, I gotta get it. It should be hanging in, a wall somewhere, but I had friends that sent their real diploma and someone put like a stamp on it or something. They got it back and it was like all messed up. And it was just such a weird time because they were it was this is the early 2000s. It was still a little bit crazy back then.
Right.
And so it sounds like they made it. The apostille thing though is that troublesome? I mean, how expensive is that? Is it?
So basically you have to, I don't remember the exact price, but I think you have to get like your degree apostilled, and then you have to get, I don't even remember at this point, something else you have to get apostilled. And like, it's not your transcript, by the way. They actually don't need your
background check.
I found out later. Background check. Yeah. Criminal background check. You have to have both of those apostilled. And like, so you have to send them out to get apostilled, and then like you receive them back, and then you send those copies out. You don't have to send like your full thing. Yeah. So the price for both of those, I think it was like 100 or something, I want to say. Cause like I got it like a express apostilled too. There's like a cheaper way to do it with the background check. But if you do that, you don't know about like the time. period. Like if you come back a lot later.
Does that include the shipping cost too, or is that like just on top of that? Then you got to send the document to. Is that?
I had to send the document. It would have been like cheaper to ship it right to the recruiter, but like I said, I wanted to have my documents. Yeah. And like that way you only have to get one copy. And like once you get your job, like get your contract and everything, then you send your stuff out.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm curious about that. So for your visa, before you landed in Korea, did you already have your visa?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you can come without your visa anymore. I mean, you could, but you would have to leave the country again.
Right. That's what I was going to ask.
Run.
Like, I did a visa. I've done a number of visa runs in my time here. Like,
I'm starting to feel like I did this in the stupidest way possible. I'm remembering, really for real. Like, check this out. This is I was going back. The way you're describing this, I'm like, wow, that would have been so much easier. I remember now what happened. I needed to get a new diploma. I think I had lost my undergraduate diploma somewhere. And so I had talked to the university. They sent me to like the State Department, not the State Department, like something like where we get the apostille, whatever, in Washington. And so I had to make like an envelope within an envelope within an envelope with like checks in each one, like cashier. What do you call that? A money order. Yeah, and each one, and then each one of those envelopes had instructions for the people. So it was like one for the university to like, make the document, send it to this person, apostille this document, mail it to this person. Like it had this chain,
all self-addressed envelopes.
Right. And I had to kick it off from my mom's for my mom for some reason, maybe because she had to make the cashier's check or something. So I had to write like another envelope for my mom with like all the instructions. And it was like, so I put this in the mail and I'm just like, I'm hoping I made this like Russian doll correctly. And eventually it came back and I got it.
It worked.
A month later.
do you still get I did a visa run one time where I was changing jobs and I had to leave the country. So I went to Osaka and and so the school gave me like this code. It was like a code number that was like basically my, this shows that he will be working at this school. And they gave me the wrong code. They gave me my coworker's code. So I roll into Osaka.
Where'd you go?
Well, I rolled in and I was like, hey, I got this uni gig, everybody. I'm like, feeling good because it's a lot of Hagwon teachers. And I was like, moving up. And
give me that E1 visa. Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was feeling proud of myself, and then they were like, this is not you. We don't know who this is, but you're not this person. And I went from like, then I was almost crying, like a grown man on the verge of tears, and they had somebody at the Osaka immigration called the university in Korea, and my Korean was so bad. I'm like, who's the person we need to talk to? I was like, Mr. Choi. I didn't even know how to pronounce like the last name, and somehow they found it and got the right number, but it was just a miracle. And trying to find a PC room like in Osaka when you've never, in a foreign country. Oh boy, Those are the adventures that you just, I can look back at it and laugh now, but at the time I was not.
So we're talking a lot about like the difficulties of like coming here to teach ESL, and I was hoping like, talking to Xochitl today, we could talk about kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to just like say like the fun stuff, but I want to know like your impression. We've interviewed a few people that talked about some of like the crazy, pretty upsetting experiences that they had. So, I guess my first question, maybe I missed the beat. How long have you been here?
I just got here February 15th.
Oh my God.
So I'm like
2 months.
Super newbie.
Yeah.
So what do you think of like real kimchi? Is it good?
Oh my God. Yeah. It was like, it surprised me. I literally like went to work. We get lunch at work, right? And so they like gave me kimchi. I like ate it. And then I was like, wow, the flavor is like a punch. Like it's so much punchier than like it is back home. And it's like more, it's almost a little sweet back home, and it's definitely like sour and like a little more
it's more
savory
funky.
here.
You know where the punch comes from. It's the kimchi refrigerator is everything. Like no one
Right.
has a special, how many people have kimchi refrigerators in America?
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
Yeah. But
Yeah. Kimchi fresh from the kimchi refrigerator, even if it's made months ago, kimchi fresh from the kimchi fridge just tastes better than once it's been in the normal fridge for
Yeah.
like a week or two.
I really liked it. Yeah. I mean, I love all the food, so I haven't had any problem like adjusting. I'm not a picky eater, which has been like a lifesaver for me because I know some other foreigners are like, I don't know about this, or they'll be like, oh, this is really spicy. Again, I'm like Mexican American, so I'm like, spicy? Are we eating
Yeah,
the
it's
same
like
dish?
it's nothing. That's
Yeah.
you're like
I grew up in
Xochitl,
Arizona,
that's like
so I was
ketchup.
eating jalapenos all the time. I was like, actually going to that then. So here in Korea, I think you mentioned before we started that that either you are or there's only one more like foreign teacher where you're working. Are you the only
There
one?
are no other foreign teachers
You're the
where I'm
only one.
working, but we basically have like the same administration, so the same bosses run another school like the floor up from mine.
Oh, okay.
And all the foreign teachers work there, and we were supposed to have like another foreign teacher working with me, but one of the ones upstairs quit randomly, and so she went upstairs. Like this was before she came, so she hadn't signed like her contract, I think. So they switched it and had her work upstairs, and then they had to hire a Korean teacher to work downstairs, Korean English teacher. So it's 3 Korean English teachers and me as a foreign teacher, and then a bunch of other Korean teachers, like homeroom teachers and stuff.
Okay, but then I guess if it's still kind of connected with the same like owner or whatever, do you socialize with the other like foreign teachers from the other floor?
Yeah, we do somewhat. I don't like I'm like at work 9 hours, right? And so I don't see them like
right.
out.
No
But
break
on the
room,
weekend I see them sometimes. It's been kind of
Okay.
weird because like I felt like I made instant friends in a way, and then like it's hard keeping up with everyone because their schedules are all crazy. So I haven't like kept up with them as much. But the other new arrival and I actually hang out pretty often because like we're both new, right? So we're
Right.
both doing a lot of new stuff. So that's been nice. But their experience upstairs is like really different from what I'm dealing with downstairs. So yeah. 2 worlds.
So then
So like what about sorry Kev, I just wanted to jump, I've been waiting to ask this question. Like how do you find like your students, what demographic, like what age level?
So I'm at like one of those kindy Hagwon, so they're literally from like I teach from 4, 5, 6, and 7
years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, not great. That's a year old. Okay.
Yeah, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and 7
you have
years old.
4-year-old students.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to check, is that Korean age 4 or like
Korean
normal?
age 4?
Yeah, that's what I thought. So you've got 2 years.
Wow.
They're babies.
So that's like 2 years of preschool and then like American kindergarten, basically.
Yeah. I love my kindergartners so much because there's only 4 of them in the class, so we've gotten really close. And like every day that I come in, they're like, Emily, teacher is beautiful. They say this like every day now because one of them asked their homeroom teacher how to say it, and then he taught everyone else how to say it. So now they say it like every day. And I was like so flattered. But Friday I came in wearing green, and they said, Emily, teacher is beautiful. And then they said like, but pink looks better on you. And they were like, no, blue looks better on her. And they started arguing, and I was like, all right, come on. It was so funny.
Celebrity.
The rose.
No kidding. Yeah.
It's cute. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have to admit that Korea, you'll get a lot of random ego boosts from things like that, and then you'll get that brutal honesty when it's like, oh, ego boost, and then oh, never mind.
I thought Green looked good on me. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying. I went to a pharmacy once, and the guy's like, "You're very handsome. You look like a movie star." And then I went outside, and the kid is like, "You're bald uncle." Like Bakbagi Adjushi. So it's kind of, it's a roller coaster ride. Like yeah.
I haven't had any like mean comments yet. People, when they first met me, everyone was like, you're really cute. Like before I started wearing makeup, everything, everyone was like, you're so cute. And then I started wearing makeup to work now, and now everyone's like, you're beautiful and pretty. So I haven't had any mean comments yet, besides the green is not my color from the kids. But
now you know.
Well, St. Patty's Day is past, so I think you're good now for a while. What are some other things that you've like, because I know that you were in, from talking to you before, we were chatting, you were in quarantine like when you first came, right? So you're basically just stuck for how long was that? Was that like 10 days or how?
It was just 1 week when I arrived. So it
Okay.
wasn't as long as like other quarantines because they switched it. So yeah, I was stuck in quarantine for a week, and then I had to do another week because I got COVID from the kids.
Right.
Yeah. So
How
2
weird is
weeks
that
of
to come to a new country and just look at it through the window? I mean, you
it
must.
was it was wild. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I can't show you my view because like people would know exactly where I live, right?
No,
But
don't
like
dox yourself.
the
Yeah.
view is the view is literally beautiful from my window, and I have like a giant, like you can see it's all a window. Like this whole thing is just a window. Like this whole
Yeah.
wall is just a window behind me. So when I got here, I would just like look out the window like all day. Like
I wish I could go there.
like
I wish I could go there.
yeah, and like the air was so fresh, and like the sunset is so beautiful. The sun sets red in Ulsan really often. It's like red almost every day, or at least really often since I've been here. And it looks really beautiful, like the sunset. The colors are really amazing. So it was very strange, like coming here. I felt like I was in a simulation or something because I was just like staring out the window. And then like my real life is like in this apartment for a week.
So
it was very weird.
When you were finally free to explore, what kind of exploring did you do? Like what was your, did you have like a list of kind of like a checklist of things that you want to do when you got here? Just like, I want to go order a bibimbap from, you know, this restaurant, or I don't know. Like,
wait, sorry, Jack, back up a second
ahead.
though. Like I'm trying to paint a picture in my head, maybe for the listeners too. I'm still hung up on you like dropping into a country and getting like quarantined, like, and looking out the giant window, watching the sunsets. I've got this in my mind right now. So when you're there, like, how did your school provide, like, I don't know quarantine. I never had to do it. Like, what do you do for food? I mean, you can't call for takeout or delivery. What do you do?
Yeah, I starved for 24 hours before they brought me something, and I was hungry.
Jeez.
There was bottled water here, so like I drank that, but I didn't. And then like it turns out that the teacher who lived here before had left like ramen and stuff in one of the cupboards, but like I'm short and I couldn't reach it because it was like all the way up, so I didn't even know there was ramen there until they told me like way later. And then there was like ramen there, so I was just like hungry. And then they brought me some food, so like basically they ordered it and then just took it out of my paycheck. So they just brought me like soup and like eggs and straw. Well, the first thing is like the VP, like she got me like stuff that I think she thinks Americans eat, like strawberries, bread, and milk. And that was like all, but it wasn't like real meals. And like a lot of the bread was like from Paris baguette, and it was just not like, it was weird. Like one of them was like buns stuffed with cheese whiz. And I was like,
yeah.
Welcome to Korea. Yeah.
Get used to this.
Yeah. I was like, ugh. But what I really liked, which a lot of foreigners don't like, is the sweet garlic bread. I thought it was really
sugary garlic bread.
Because I knew it would be sweet because I'd already been warned about that by my friends. So then I tasted it and I was ready for it. And I was like, oh, this is good, actually. So I did like that. The one thing that I really hated that other foreigners haven't had a problem with, the toast sandwiches. I got nauseous when I ate it because it's like sweet, weirdly sweet. And then they have horseradish in it too. And I was like, no, I can't do like sweet with horseradish. Just no.
Yeah.
So it was weird. Yeah, so like that was basically my experience, just like eating and sitting here. And I thought I would watch more Netflix and stuff, but it was just weird because I felt like I was just sitting around thinking a lot of the time, because it feels like you're not in a foreign country. Like you wake up and you're like, you don't realize you're in a foreign country because you literally can't even see anyone. But then like I go to do my laundry and it's all in Korean, like the laundry machine's all in Korean, or like the temperature controls, I don't even know how to turn them on. So like I'm like, oh, all right, I'm in Korea. Like that's how I felt every day.
Have you lived in another country before? Like have you for like longer periods of time, or is this?
Yeah, I lived in Mexico for like a year as an adult, and then I lived there as a kid as well. And but I speak Spanish fluently and I speak English fluently, so it's like different. And I've traveled to like China and other places where I don't really speak the language, but I've never like lived somewhere long term where I don't speak the language. So it has been different. Yeah.
I'll be curious to talk to you about language maybe in a minute, but how have you started to adapt then to Korea? Like, have you had someone like helped you, or?
One of my coworkers, she's like my real friend. Like I won't get into how I know this because, you know, obviously, but she's like really my friend. I don't know why, but she like just saw me, I guess really liked me, vibed with me. And then she just like helps me with literally anything. Like I went to Daegu Saturday, yesterday, and she was like, oh, I can help you get your KTX tickets. Like, I don't know, like sometimes people who are nice here, they just like adopt you as like their sister.
Is
or
this a
something.
Korean coworker?
Yeah, she's Korean.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
And she just like so nice to me and so kind.
Yeah.
Like I can't even begin to be thankful. Like she's, I don't know how to explain it, but like it's just another level. Like to see the cherry blossom, she drove me all the way to Gyeongju and then like hung out with me the whole time and like just like
Nice.
a tour guide basically, which is like so kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I began to adapt because she helps me with a lot of stuff and she helps me with like learning Korean, and the foreign teachers who work upstairs have lived here for years. Like one of them's lived in Ulsan for 6 years. So I can always ask them stuff and they're really helpful about that. And then as far as learning Korean, I've actually started picking up a lot of stuff because the kids speak it all the time.
Oh,
and I'm like, English, please. But like, I know what different things mean now. So I know like, kumane, 기다리세요, 앉으세요, like all that kind of stuff, like basic, wait, sit down, be quiet.
Yeah.
So like I've learned a bunch of stuff just through hearing them like all the time. And my coworkers talking all the time. So I started to pick it up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you gone through Hangul? Have you got the alphabet down at least?
Yeah, I do know the alphabet. I
easy.
still like struggle with this one, but I can read most of it. And I'm like, the new arrival keeps being shocked because like she hasn't picked it up yet. And I'm like, it's literally so easy if you just sit down. She's been like studying, and I feel like I've been picking it up naturally because I'm like surrounded by it all the time. So it's been harder for her.
I just remember when I was kind of new trying to learn Hangul, my goal at first was, as I was walking on the street, I would just try and read a sign, not understand it, but just pronounce a sign before I passed it by.
Right.
And yeah, that was just good practice for getting through the syllables and getting through the sounds and things like that.
I think a
Yeah,
fun. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
Like
no, me
a
neither.
fun.
I was
Sorry, go ahead. You go first.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I do that with menus. Like, I'll read it in Korean first, and then I'll look at the English after and be like, okay, I did say that right. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was gonna say I do the exact same thing with movie titles on like cable. You know, it's fun to like, what is that? Independence Day, you know, or something like that. Like you just that's a fun game to play if you're going bored, going crazy at home.
Yeah.
So what things were you not expecting that you've run into so far in Korea? Because you did some research, you talked to some friends, you know, you found things online, but still, you know, maybe foods or I don't know, some culture thing that you just can be like, oh, hey, that's a thing here. Like what has surprised you in your first couple months?
I knew that like random stuff would be sweet, but I just wasn't expecting like the level of sweetness for things that like I am used to being savory. I'm like, oh, this is so sweet. And like the other day they brought me salty bread just so that they were like, this bread is salty, try it. And it was just sweet bread with rock salt on top. And I was like, sweet, it just has rock salt. Or like they gave me cornbread from a bakery the other day, and it was like literally sickeningly sweet. It was hard to eat.
You'll find some bakeries. Finally, in my neighborhood now, there's a few like proper bakeries around. But if you go to like Perry Baguette or Tulage or like those big name ones, yeah, it's all just sweet stuff.
Yeah, I got so frustrated, like for real. I got so frustrated that in 2016, I bought a steam oven so I can make my own baguettes.
Wow.
Like I really like bread. Like for real, I did. I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I spent $1,000
and I'm not putting any sugar in this. You know?
No sugar in my baguettes.
Yeah.
I'm making hamburger buns. I'm making it all.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Some other things, I do have kind of like a crazy story of something that happened to me. If you guys want to hear that like I
love crazy stories.
So like basically they had me like go pick up my health check by myself one day, and like I was brand new, like just out of quarantine, so I didn't know where I was going. I didn't speak any Korean, and when I woke up, like my stomach really hurt, but I just thought it was kind of having trouble adjusting at first, and I was like, it just kind of hurts, it's fine. Then I like got in the taxi and I started feeling really sick and like nauseous, and I don't know how to tell the taxi driver that I think I'm gonna puke. And so I just say like, 아저씨 갑자기요, and then like he rolled down the window and it was like too late. I threw up and like he didn't charge me for it, which was so nice because they usually charge you apparently like for throwing up in the taxi.
It's usually self-induced, soju induced. Yeah. He probably knew
usually on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sick. So he drove me to like a doctor, and then like I just got out and I went to the doctor. Thankfully, doctor speaks English. I still go to him all the time. I love this doctor because he speaks English. No one else speaks English. I'm like so relieved. Anyway, I was like
Nice.
covered in vomit, so it was really embarrassing.
Oh.
And I was crying at this point because I'm like lost. I don't know where I am, and I'm like sobbing and I'm covered in vomit. So anyway, he helps me out. He gave me like medicine, blah, blah, blah. I went down to the pharmacy, got my medicine, and I was like waiting in line, and this old lady came up behind me. She's like waiting behind me, and she lifted my hoodie and just like grabbed my butt. And I was like,
What?
it was really weird.
What?
But I heard that like this is weird, obviously, even for Korea. But like I heard that sometimes old ladies, they don't really have the boundaries here. Like that's what my Korean friends told me. So they were like,
Yeah, but still, that one's a bit.
it was insane. That was insane.
That's a new one. I've
You
never
might be a
heard that
crazy
before.
person.
That was tough. Yeah. I think she was like, yeah, it was wild. I didn't even react to it because I had so many other things going on. I just like got my medicine. I was just like, okay.
Just a little extra for this day.
If you should have thrown up on her. I mean, come on. Like,
One more time.
Just one more time.
Yeah. I wasn't like, I actually like when I tell people this, they're like really shocked, but I actually wasn't like that offended because I think she was just like curious. Like they don't see that many foreigners in Ulsan, so I think she was just curious or something. So I was like, whatever.
So the way to check if a foreigner is normal is get a grab their butt really quick.
I did have somebody when I was in Busan. I have a tattoo on my arm, and it's a sleeve. It's rather big, and I had somebody on the subway. It was an older woman, just reach over and stroke my arm.
That's weird.
Like, yeah, I was just like, what? Like I don't know, she wanted to check if it would come off or something, but just like with force, stroked my whole arm and looked at me like she's kind of confused. Like I was like, okay, you just touched me.
That's so weird. Yeah,
it's pre-COVID experience.
Yeah. Another thing like is the staring. I knew that I would get stares because I was told about that. But in Ulsan, people in Jonggu and Namgu area, at least, they like look at you from the side of their eye like this. And like they don't stare at you directly. So I'm like, that's fine for me. But like when I went to Donggu or then when I went to Daegu yesterday, people were literally like coming up to get a better look at me. And it was weird in Daegu because there's so many foreigners. So I'm like, why are you looking at me? Like it was very odd. So yeah, they like came up.
One.
Yeah.
I remember when I was new here, like I would definitely get stares. I don't get it nearly as often. Just in Seoul, there's more and more foreigners around, so they're not as surprised to see me. I remember one thing that I noticed when I was first here is when I'd be walking around with a Korean friend, speaking English, of course, so people would be like, "Who's this English speaker, behind me?" And the first thing they would do is they would look at me. They'd be like, "Who's speaking English?" But then immediately they looked at who I was with, like, "Who's the foreigner? Who's the Korean person with the foreigner?" And they were always curious about like that part of it.
Yeah. So that was something. And then another thing that I didn't really expect, because like I heard people aren't like that friendly to strangers, right? Is like how nice and helpful everyone's been. Like when I got here, like I was struggling with my luggage. Like I had people help me with my luggage the whole way. Like on the airplane, I was struggling with my carry-on, and this like old ajashi just like grabbed my carry-on and put it up for me. Like some of them, they're like nice and they're pretending like they're not being nice though. You know what I mean? Like they're being nice to you, but they're acting like they're not doing you a favor. Yeah. And so he just put it up for me, but it was very nice. And then when the plane landed, he like got up and got my luggage for me first. I like that was really kind of him. And then like everyone helped me with things. And like I said, I made this like Korean friend who's my coworker, and she's just so nice, like unexpectedly, incredibly nice to me all the time for no reason. But I've just been really appreciative. Like I did not expect that people would be so kind to me.
Yeah. I had a really similar experience when I came here. I came from Chicago too, so maybe that's why.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, not putting down Chicago. Chicago's very friendly, kind of. I don't know, but I was really surprised at how much people were willing to assist me. I think I've said this story on the podcast before. It's short and it's worth repeating. I was one of my first times in the subway in Busan. And this is, before there were smartphones. I don't have a map, and I'm looking at the map on the wall. And if you look at the map long enough, someone's going to come up and ask you if you need help or whatever. I knew generally where I wanted to go, but this guy insisted on helping me. I was like, all right, cool. He comes with me onto the train. We get so far and I have to make a transfer. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
But he starts talking to this girl that looks like maybe she's 14 years old.
Oh yeah.
And then he gets off the train and he takes her hand and gives her hand to me. I'm like, okay. And he waves and he's gone. Now I've got the 14-year-old girl with me.
Wow.
And she's like my guide. And she took me the rest of the way. She took me to my exit, got to the stairs. She points to the top of the stairs, smiles and waves. And then she goes back to the train. She got back on the train.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was just blown away. I'm like, I don't know any of you people. I don't even know your name. You guys are so nice.
I'd love to hear the translation of that conversation where this guy's like, hey, this guy's your responsibility now. Okay, I'm out of here.
I got to go to work.
Yeah, you take care of him.
Make sure this foreigner doesn't die.
Yeah. You got to help this guy.
But I wonder if that's not just like, I'm sure, we could say it's part of a cultural thing or, like that social awareness. I wonder if also part of it is, if we talk to at least our students in university, in my experience, the Koreans that I meet and students that I know, they travel a lot. It's like, if you ask your freshman students, like, have you left the country? Probably half of them have. It's pretty wild how many students, they travel a lot. So being that you're from a country that typically has like a lower English fluency level, traveling, you're entering into a lot of there's a little bit of empathy. Maybe there's a familiarity, a general social familiarity with that experience of wandering in a foreign country and not being able to communicate and looking different, feeling different, appearing, and so they see you and it's like automatic. It's like, oh, I know this feeling. Like I can help you out,
That is really, oh, sorry. I was going to say that's really interesting to me because like actually in Ulsan, I've had the experience where like a lot of people have never left Korea at all. And so they like don't understand where I'm coming from. But the coworker I mentioned that I became friends with, she lived in Argentina for a year. And she was a Spanish major. And so like, I think maybe that's why, like, she knows I'm having a hard time. And that just made me emotional a little bit. But like, I think she knows I'm having a hard time. So she's like, she really goes out of her way to help me because she's like, it must be really hard. And so like, you're right. Like, I think she knew how hard it was for her. And so she doesn't want anyone else to go through that. And I had the same with like one of the foreign teachers who's really helped me out. She was like, yeah, I lived here and I was really isolated when I came here. So I don't want you to feel that way. And so I do think people who are like really helpful have been through those experiences.
How do you feel about the sacrifice of, I think the biggest sacrifice, especially for a long-termer like me, is that I've been here 20 years, the family, you know what I mean? Like there is a sacrifice. I live 10,000, and Ryan and Kev, you guys are in the same boat. My daughter is growing up. She's 13, 14 years old. She's seen her grandparents a handful of times, but it's not like every weekend we're going to grandma's house or in grandpa's house and that kind of thing. And that's a sacrifice that you have to reconcile when you choose this life. Is this a temporary thing for you, or are you thinking like this could lead to, because we kind of joke about this, I came to Asia for a year and I stayed for 20, like it's just, I was like, I'm never going back again, and I'm glad I made this decision. I've made a great life here, but there is like, those sacrifices are enormous, when you think back on those,
I think I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here right now because I just got here, but I think I would want to stay more than a year, right? But I agree, like family is the hardest thing. Like my grandparents are getting older and I worry about that a lot, like not to get too dark on the podcast, but it's just like, I spent a lot of time with them before I came because you never know how much time you're going to have with someone. And I think that is a big sacrifice. Like I want to see these people and I want to spend time with these people, but like at the same time, like I want to have these new experiences. So it's just really hard to like navigate that.
Yeah.
And I think there's different types of people as well for like how you choose to navigate that going back home. Of all of our coworkers, and some of our coworkers go back home every summer and every winter to see family.
Yeah. There you go.
Some people go back once every year. I go back, well, now because COVID is special, but this summer would be 5 years since I've been back to the States.
Wow, 5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I won't be making it back this summer either. So
some people didn't go back for 10 years.
Right. Exactly. And so
sorry.
everyone has
Yeah.
very different
I go every
styles
summer.
of dealing
Every
with-
summer I go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the interesting thing is like, everyone, even though you do sacrifice family, it's not, if you choose to, if you're one of those people that wants to go back, twice a year or once a year, it's very possible. Everyone, people do that as well. And you can still keep in touch with family. Not the same, right?
No.
It's not like Jack was saying, hang out with the grandparents every weekend or something like that. But
Right.
the world is surprisingly small for how big it
And
is.
it's getting smaller too. It's been easier as the years have gone by. Now I'm using
Hmm.
things like, well, obviously Zoom. I've got my whole family on Kakao. We have daily chats. It's mostly memes and BS, but at least you're there. You're present with each
Right.
other a little bit in a very maybe superficial way, but it's something. And like the Marco Polo app, like we do like video messages and stuff with some of my friends. That's really nice. Yeah, and just like always being vigilant about responding to emails to keep those relationships, because they can fade. I will say one thing though, and as maybe like someone who's been here for a long time to somebody who just arrived, I'm not telling you should stay for 2 years, but second year, that's the best.
Okay.
And then it's just-
That is true. That is true. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
guys
thinking
wanna elaborate
the
on that?
first year is still so. It's still so new, of course, right? Everything is, even after the first 6 months is just crazy. That's all honeymoon period, and
Yeah.
and after that, it starts to become a little bit normal. But still, that 1 year it just feels different from when you choose to stay. Just that just even if it's just one more year.
I think the first year you've got a lot of the not bad stress, but you have stress, the stress of life. Like you've got to figure out how to use the bus, and you build these routines, like some language challenges, and it could be your diet, whatever. But after like the first year, the next year, it's kind of like you developed your superpowers. You know how to like use a menu. You can order delivery. Like the world just kind of flows, and now you can go explore. You can go afield a little bit more easily, more confidently. You can be like, you know what, today I'm just gonna F off to Seoul and get a hotel because I know how to do this, and I know where I want to explore. And I don't know. I think a lot of people have that.
You're just holding on right now. You're just holding on for dear life. You know what I mean?
Eating sweet bread. Yeah.
It's nice to really hear that perspective though. The new arrival and I call ourselves the Avengers because like my Korean is a lot better than hers and her navigational skills are a lot better than mine. So we like
Nice.
put ours together
Teamwork.
and go out and like do stuff. Yeah. Like when we go to restaurants, I order and then she gets us to the place. Yeah.
You just
Nice.
need 3 more, and you can make a Voltron, a robot of power right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way I've said this before, but the way I approached my first year in Korea, I think was somewhat healthy. Whereas I didn't know what was going to happen. Like after 1 year, I didn't know if I was going to leave. I didn't know if I was going to stay. It was very like you. It's just like, I'm here. Let's see what happens, right? But my goal for the first year was that I want to stay. Maybe I'll leave, maybe I won't, but I just hope that by the end of the year, I'm happy in the country. And so I did what I could just to enjoy Korea and just be happy here, so that even if I wanted to go home, that doesn't matter. But no, staying in Korea would be okay. I wasn't one of those people that's like, I got to get out. I'm trying to run.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't want to run. Don't want to be a midnight runner. Yeah. And I'm like, I was like, I've been through harder things and like, it is stressful, but I was like, I can do it. And and it's always nice. Like I was talking to my doctor. It's funny because I see him like every week because I've been sick since I got here. And so I literally were like friends at this point. So then he was just like, he was telling me like, oh, I think you're really brave because like you came to this country alone. And I was just like, yeah, it's been really hard. And he's like, I know it is really hard. And sorry, I'm getting emotional again, but like that meant a lot just hearing somebody say like it's hard, because like at work sometimes people are like, well, what is hard about it? I'm like, you've never even left the country. What do you mean what's hard about it? You don't know. So it does get frustrating, but like I'm like, okay, well, they don't have that experience. So I just try to compartmentalize, like they just don't have that same experience, so they can't possibly relate.
It's really hard to imagine it too. Like I don't think I could understand it until I arrived. Like the way that you describe, I know I keep picking on the example of food, but it's such an easy example. Like I'm picturing you, okay, quarantined in your apartment, starving to death for 24 hours. You go from this to being able to like go to a restaurant that gets navigated by a friend, but you can order on the menu. Do you know what the next level is? I'm going to tell you the next level right now. The next level, you might not know this. Did you know that if you go to a public park, you can have food delivered to where you're sitting?
I heard about that, but it
It's
sounds
magical. Straight up magical.
stressful to me. Like, I'm scared they're gonna not see me. Like, what if they miss me? Because in the US, it's such a disaster ordering things. I realize that it's like really convenient here. It's not like the US. The US, they get lost when you give them like your exact address. And here they're like, I'll find you. We're at the park. I'll find you.
Yeah, it's like, I'm under the tree, bro. And they like find you.
It's
It's
wonderful. You snap your fingers. You're under a tree enjoying like the cool summer breeze. You snap your finger and there's chicken in your hands. It's a miracle. Really
I need to do that. What I really wanted to do is like eat jjajangmyeon, and I thought like I would do it my first night here, but then I realized you can't order anything with a foreign card, and you need to have your ARC to use like the delivery app. So I had to wait till I got my ARC, and then I just got my bank card. So now that I have those two things, I'm gonna try to order delivery at some point this week.
I think a lot of the new apps like are English. Like you can just order in English on most of the apps, so it's not so difficult to order delivery these days.
Yeah.
Once you get your address registered and like she said, like the ARC and everything, like Coupang Eats, I think maybe mine's not toggled right. Mine's all in Hangul, but you can search names in English in it. I've done that. Yeah, like I've typed in like taco in English, TAC.
Yeah, it is. The language barrier does make things kind of hard, but like I feel like I'm getting there. And like you're right, there's a lot of stuff in English. Ulsan is like really different. I had this conversation with one of the foreign teachers who like she lived in Daejeon previously, and she lived in a few other cities in Korea, and she said like when she told her husband like, well, let's move to Ulsan and take this job because like it's going to be the same as like any other city in Korea, just by the sea. That's what she said. And then she said I came here and it was like wildly different, and she was like, she said she was shocked by how different it was, and she really enjoys it. And yeah, I like there's things that I expected. Like I heard a lot about like diet culture and people being like really thin and all of this like appearances, and like that's not true for Ulsan at all. People just kind of look like, it's cool in a way. Like they're more laid back about their appearance. Like at work, not everyone wears makeup. People wear like leggings and t-shirts to my job, and I'm like, you would not be able to do that in the US for a job. But like they just show up like that. Yeah. And then like if you go out to the grocery store, there's only some people who are like super dressed up, but the vast majority is just wearing like a hoodie and like no makeup. And when I went to Daegu like last Saturday night, I was shocked because everyone was like super dressed up. And I was like, this is really different. And like there's like so much more pressure. Like
wait till you go to Seoul, go to Gangnam or something like that. And Gangnam, well, I wear a tuxedo to Gangnam. I don't know about you guys, but no.
Oh yeah, always the top.
Of course. Top hat, a monocle, Mr. Peanut, yeah.
Nice. Wait, so we're just kind of slowly wrapping up here. I'm curious. One thing that I would like to know before the end here is, we've talked about what brought you here and things that you've experienced. What are you looking forward to in your next year? What are you excited about that you haven't done yet? You've only been here 2 months. It's still very new in your eyes. What are you looking forward to?
So I think going to Seoul with like my Korean coworker and the new foreigner upstairs, like we're going to do that for our birthday weekend. So that's like June. So I'm looking forward to that. Nice. And then besides that, my family's going to come visit in August, and I want to go to Jeju. I heard that it's packed, but I don't care. I like really want to go to Jeju. So I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I'm really looking forward to like traveling and trying like a bunch of Korean food, because the kind of weird thing is like you ask people about restaurants, like try Korean food here, and they keep like suggesting foreign restaurants for me. And I'm like, I don't want to eat pasta. Like,
have you been to this really nice Burger King? Have you heard of that before? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. They asked me about like Papa John's the other day. I was like, I don't want to eat Papa John's. I eat that at home. Yeah, so it's funny. So I really want to try like a bunch of different Korean food, and I want to go back to Gyeongju. I like really loved going to Gyeongju. It was really beautiful, and we got dakgalbi because like I asked my coworker like, can we eat something traditional? And they gave us like the marinated crabs. She told me like the name in Korean, but I forgot. But she says that the nickname is rice thief because it's so marinated. You have to eat it with
간장게장.
Yes, I think so. Yeah. And so we eat like the marinated crabs and then dakgalbi. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. And transportation here, like that's really something that's so cheap and convenient compared to the US. Like it's insane.
Taxis, so great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I can take a taxi for like 30 minutes and it's like, yeah, 11,000 won. I'm like, in the US, I'd have to pay like 40 bucks for this. And then like,
that was
yeah.
reverse culture shock for me. That one of the first times I went back to the States, I took a taxi and I was just like, wait a minute, why is the meter going up so quickly? What the hell? I was shocked.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
expensive. And like, there's
Yeah,
no way to like navigate buses to like different places. Here, like I can literally, and Ulsan's one of the worst transportations for a major city, and yet I can just like pretty much get anywhere that I need. Like taking the KTX was so easy. Like I've been pushing myself out of my comfort zone so I can like navigate by myself. So I took the KTX alone yesterday. And so like I was like, okay, found out how to take the bus there, got on the KTX, got to Daegu, and then took Dongdaegu, and then took the metro to Daegu downtown. And like I could do that all fairly easily. Like there's a lot of signs in English, everything's like set up, and it was like a 20-minute ride. So it's so convenient.
That's one of the reasons I stayed here, I think, is the public transportation initially. It was fantastic. I love it.
Shoot. I don't know if this is available to you. How old did you say you were?
25.
You're 20. She might be able to do what is that called? The what's the word?
Something
railroad?
rail pass. Railo. Right?
Yeah, it ends, I think, when you're like 25, 26.
It's like the Eurail pass for Korea, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So you pay like one fee, and it's small, and like the students use it because they get to like explore all of Korea, and you just jump on, jump off. I haven't talked to a foreigner here that's as young as you in a long time.
Yeah, people keep telling me that. Yeah, I keep like meeting all the foreigners are like 30 plus, and they're all like, "You're so young," and I'm just like, "Oh yeah, I thought everyone would be like younger." I mean, not that 30 is older. You hear about how like everyone's like in their 20s, like when they come here, and then I guess people just stay for a long time, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I was 25 when I got to Korea, actually. So I was your age when I.
You were 25?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, same age as me.
Yeah. I came here when I was quite young, and I just dove.
Jack, how old are you when you dropped in?
Well, see, I lived in Thailand for the first 3 years, and I was 22 or 23 when I went there. But I was, but the thing is, actually the average age is much higher than people think. I met a lot of people that were coming over for the first time were in their early 30s.
Yeah, I was 29, and I think like all my foreigner friends in Busan, like the general average age was probably 28 to 31.
I was pretty young when I first jumped in, so for sure. I think 25 is, I didn't meet too many foreigners that were quite at that same age. I was the youngest in my group for a very long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if anyone's watching this and they think they're too old to come, like, don't feel that way, because I thought I was too old to come, which is hilarious. Right. And I was like, I'm 25, like, and it's weird because like you think that like there's gonna be a lot of pressure here, like to be younger because like what you hear, but no, people keep like Koreans keep being 25, you're so young, like, and I know that's like Korean age and US age are different, so I'm actually 27 to them, but I just use my US age because
I'm 68 or whatever. Yeah, it's crazy.
Korean age is wrong. I'm over 40 in Korean age. I'm 41 Korean age, but damn it, I refuse that because I'm only 39 normal age, and so that's a whole new decade that I'm not ready to be at yet in Korean age. So
it's coming.
I know it's my birthday soon, but I've got a couple more months before I still get to hold on to it.
Yeah. So just like that's my last thought, or like one of the last thoughts for people, like if they feel like they're too old to come. The new arrival is like 30, I think, and most people I've met here are like in their 30s. So don't feel like you're too old, because like it's ridiculous. I thought I was too old. Everyone else is like in their 30s, and that's a great time to be here because like you also have more life experience. Like I'm scrambling so much because of like everything that's happening to me, and like people who are in their 30s like can't relate on the same level because like they just have more skills than I do at like 25. So I'm like, this is hard, and they're like, oh, what about it? Like their coping skills are just different. So anyway, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but like there's pros and cons to everything. But just come if you want to come, basically.
Yeah, Xochitl, I gotta admit, I love your attitude here. Like I think that you're gonna have a fantastic thing. Like you're ready, you're already out exploring, you've got a basics for the language. I mean, that's a recipe for success here.
Thank you.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if we talk to you like 2 years later, you're speaking Korean fluently. You know what I mean? Like it's some people just jump in and just go for it right away, and that's the best way to do it. I mean, it really is. I think you're just
That's what I was thinking. I think it would be great, Xochitl, if in like another 10 months, come around January or so, I'd love to have you come back and tell us what it was like.
Yeah, she'll come back all black-pilled and be like, kimchi sucks, I'm going back to America.
Yeah.
Either that or she's going to be fully Ajima with the like visor and the like arm controls.
I'm dead at 25, like my Ajima. Yeah.
There's only two options. You either go fully native or you run away. It's really all that there is.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think for me, like my experiences have been so good here that I don't think I could hate it. Like people have been so nice and kind to me. Nice. And the kids, like despite like things I don't know how to navigate to, like hierarchy and things that I'm not used to, like people, like it feels disrespectful sometimes from like the US because like your boss doesn't talk to you a certain way, right? So I'm like getting used to like things here, but I love my kids so much and they love me. And like I cried the other day thinking about like what I'm gonna do if like I had to leave them. I was like, no, I couldn't like leave. And so I love my kids so much. So I think like it's one of those things, like if you're gonna go into work, focus on the positive. Think about like the coworkers that are nice to you, get along with them, help them with everything because like you owe them some help because they're helping you out. And appreciate your kids, like be really nice to them and put like a lot of the closer you are with your kids that you work with, I think the more effort you want to put into your lesson planning too. And that really helps because then everyone gets like a better impression of you too. Like, oh, you're working really hard. Like I typed up all my lesson plans and like the boss and some of my coworkers were shocked. They were like, your lesson plans are so nice. You don't have to do this like fancy work. I was like, it's not fancy. It's just like basically planning, but like
it's called teaching.
I think you've got, I mean, that's kind of like
preparing as part of teaching.
You've got like an upward
they're like, wait a second.
The more you like your kids, the more you want to prepare, the more you like your kids, the more you want to prepare, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And it just,
if your kids like you, that is the number one most important thing in a Hagwon. I mean, it really is. Like that is the, those kidney classes are the bread and butter of those institutions. And if your kids like you, if they're having fun with you, then you're golden. I mean, that's my experience.
I'd say that goes with like all levels, like even teaching uni, like, okay, yeah, we're teaching to metrics, right? I mean, as you go up the age ladder, right, you got to teach more to the metrics. But I've said this to both you guys, like meeting expectations. You still got to admit that even in a university, the student, I don't want to say they're a customer, but you're working with them. You're meeting their expectations. What do they want? What do they want to do? What do they want to accomplish? Like you got to work towards them, and that's essentially the same thing. Like make them happy.
Right. And I think for kids, you gotta like inspire them to want to communicate. Like I was shocked by how quickly they all learned how to say that I'm beautiful because like they wanted to tell me that. So like they like all learned it and now they all know how to say it. And I'm like, you guys are learning this faster than the material. What's going on? But it was really cute. And so like I'm like, you gotta inspire them to want to communicate with you because then they're gonna learn it. Like my kid who's learning the fastest, it's because he loves to talk. And I keep telling other teachers that like he loves to talk, so he wants to learn English because he wants to tell me stuff. So you gotta like inspire them,
and they're little sponges at that time. So the way you talk to them and forcing them to speak English, they're it's not as much teaching as it is just kind of I don't know, providing input that they can absorb and so
exposure and keep them stoked. I still do that with freshmen.
I mean,
guys, we're gonna have fun, but it's got to stay in English. That's the only rules today.
Nice. Well, I think that's a great positive place to wrap on. Does anybody have anything you want to add really quick
this was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for coming in. This is very cool, and I do hope to talk to you again in a few months and see how you have adapted to Korea. So come back and chat with us again.
Thanks. I'm a huge fan of the podcast, so I'm gonna be listening. Nice. I cool have learned a lot of helpful tips from this podcast too. So.
Right on.
Well, thank you. That makes us feel great. I'm just going to tell our listeners out there, you guys know where to find us. You can go to thesoulpatch.com. It's a one-stop shop. You can get the YouTube channel. You can stream the episodes, download the episodes. If you could do us a favor and leave us a review in Apple Podcasts, that really helps us out with the charts, and that's gets us seen by more listeners out there. And if you have the funds, you can smash that Patreon button and buy us a cup of coffee, and that'll go toward producing the show so that we can keep doing this every week. And I guess with that, we'll say goodbye. See you next week on The Patch. Thanks, everybody.
Have a nice day. Thanks,
Bye,
man.
everyone.
I'd like to pay a couple respects to the people that made me what I am today.
Nothing here.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
The quiet man.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
Dopamine. Jim.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
The brain.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love.
Hey, Bobby. Let the bass go. Call me an eater, call me a dominant. Long face.
Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love. Kiss all my love. Obsolete.